Welcome to Night Audio Stories. Tonight, I'll tell you 5 chilling tales that will keep you on edge. Get ready, it's going to be scary. The first story is Shadow on the Overpass. It was late, way past midnight, the kind of hour where the world feels empty, where the road ahead blurs into black, and even the hum of the engine starts to sound alive. I'd been driving for hours, just me, the truck, and the endless stretch of highway slicing through the night. The air outside was thick with fog, swirling in the beams of my headlights like ghosts trying to form shapes. There were no towns, no rest stops, not even another pair of headlights for miles. Just the soft growl of the diesel engine and the faint rattle of the trailer behind me. And then, something changed. You know that feeling when your instincts whisper before your mind catches up? That prickle at the back of your neck that tells you something's not right. That's what hit me. A strange heaviness in the air, like the night itself was watching. I was somewhere past mile marker 72 when I saw her. At first, she was just a shape, a silhouette on the overpass ahead. Thin, still. I thought maybe it was a trick of the headlights, a road sign, or a shadow. But as I got closer, I saw her clearly. A woman, standing dead center on the overpass. Hands gripping the cold metal railing, leaning slightly forward, staring straight down at me. Her clothes fluttered faintly in the wind. Her hair moved just enough to catch the light. But her face, it was lost in the dark. My stomach twisted. No car, no phone, no lights. Just her, alone, in the middle of nowhere. I slowed down, thinking maybe she needed help. Or maybe she was about to jump. Either way, I couldn't just drive past. I pulled over on the shoulder beneath the bridge. The gravel crunched under my tires. The truck idled, rumbling like some restless animal. When I stepped out, the air hit me, cold, sharp, too still. It was the kind of quiet that presses on your ears. I craned my neck up toward the overpass, but she was gone. Just empty concrete and the low moan of the wind. I called out, "Hey, are you all right?" No answer, not even an echo. Maybe she'd moved to the other side. I took a few steps back to get a better view. That's when I caught movement. In the corner of my eye. Something behind me. I turned, slowly, and my blood froze. There she was, standing in the middle of the road, right behind my truck. She hadn't made a sound, not one. Her posture was wrong, too rigid, like a puppet held upright by invisible strings. The wind swept across the highway, bending the grass, but she didn't move, not even a flicker. Her face was still hidden in shadow, but I could feel her eyes, cold, unblinking, fixed on me. My mouth went dry. My pulse thundered in my ears. Every instinct screamed, "Get back inside the truck." But I couldn't move. Finally, I forced the words out. "Do you need help?" Nothing. She didn't even blink. The silence between us grew heavier, almost physical. Then she was gone. No movement, no sound, just gone. I stumbled back, threw myself into the cab, slammed the door, and locked it. The truck felt safer, contained, but the air inside was thick and heavy, like the fear had followed me in. I hit the gas. The tires squealed as I sped off. For miles, I didn't breathe, didn't blink. Every shadow felt like it was moving. Every flicker of light looked like her shape on the road. I tried to calm down, told myself it was just exhaustion. Too many hours, too much caffeine, not enough rest. But then, the headlights flickered. Once, twice. Then the radio filled with static. The dashboard lights dimmed. The engine started slowing down on its own. I pressed harder on the gas. Nothing. The speedometer dropped. The engine coughed, sputtered, and died. I coasted to the shoulder and stopped. The silence was deafening. No wind, no hum, just the ticking of the engine as it cooled. My hands trembled as I reached for my phone. The screen glowed faintly, then flickered and went black. That's when I saw it. In the mirror, she was there.
Standing right behind the truck, closer than before. Her outline was clear now, illuminated by the pale glow of the taillights. Her clothes looked soaked, clinging to her like wet fabric. Her head tilted slightly to the side, unnaturally slow. Then she started walking. One step, then another, bare feet on asphalt, each step louder than it should have been. She was coming closer. My throat tightened. I couldn't think, couldn't breathe. All I could do was watch that mirror. I slammed the lock on the doors again, as if that would help. Her hand reached the trailer, dragged slowly across the metal, leaving streaks I could hear but couldn't see. Then she stopped by the window, her hand pressed against the glass, pale and trembling. But her face, I still couldn't see it. She just stood there, listening. And then, without a sound, she turned, walked back into the fog, and disappeared. The moment she was gone, the truck came alive again. Lights on, engine roaring, radio snapping back to life. I floored it, didn't look back. I drove until dawn, until the sun burned the mist away, and the world felt real again. But I never forgot her. Even now, when I pass that overpass, I don't slow down, I don't look up, because deep down, I know she's still there, waiting.
The second story is Headlights in the Mist. It was one of those nights when the world feels unreal. Fog so thick it eats the headlights before they reach the road. I was heading home from a long shift, my eyes heavy, my brain on autopilot. The highway stretched ahead like a pale ribbon disappearing into the mist. No music, no cars, just the low hum of the engine and the soft thud of my heartbeat. Everything outside the windshield looked erased. The world felt hollow, as if I was driving through a dream where I was the only thing still awake. Then I noticed a faint glow in my rearview mirror. Headlights. far behind, barely cutting through the fog. At first, I felt relieved, another traveler on this ghost road. But that comfort didn't last long. The lights were getting closer. Fast. Way too fast for anyone sane to be driving in this weather. I glanced at the speedometer, barely 30. Still, the lights grew larger, brighter, until they filled the mirror like twin suns. "What the hell is this guy doing?" I muttered, gripping the wheel. When the glare became blinding, I eased off the gas and pulled onto the shoulder, gravel popping under the tires. I expected the car to scream past me, but it didn't. The light simply vanished. 1 second it was there, the next, nothing. Just the thick white haze swallowing the road whole. I stared into the mirror, waiting for the glow to return. It didn't. No car, no sound, not even a hint of movement. I told myself it had to be the fog. The eyes play tricks when you're tired. That's all it was. So I drove on. But something had changed. The fog seemed heavier now, pressing against the windshield like a living thing. And the air in the car felt colder, damp somehow. And though the road ahead was empty, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. Then I saw them again. Headlights. But this time, in front of me. They appeared out of nowhere, bright and still, floating in the mist. I hit the brakes, heart hammering, the tires screeching slightly as I stopped. The lights didn't move, didn't flicker. They just hung there, waiting. My palms were slick with sweat. How the hell had that car gotten in front of me? No one had passed. I would have seen it.
I leaned forward, trying to see through the fog. The beams of my headlights met theirs, and in that eerie glow, I could just make out a dark shape. A car parked sideways across the road. I rolled down the window a crack. No engine noise, no wind, no sound at all. Just silence so deep it made my ears ring. Then, as I inched closer, I saw it. The car was empty. Driver's door open wide, like someone had stepped out and vanished into the mist. I froze. Every instinct screamed to leave, but my foot wouldn't move. And then the lights went out, just gone. The road went black. I couldn't see the hood of my own car. Something moved in the dark. I didn't see it, but I felt it. A pulse in the air, a whisper of motion just beyond sight. Then came a sound, a low, distant rumble, like an engine starting up. But it wasn't mine. The vibration rolled through the fog, deeper and louder, until it felt like it was circling me. I slammed my car into reverse, tires spitting gravel. My pulse was pounding so loud I could barely think. The sound grew closer, and then headlights in the rearview mirror. The same lights, the same impossible glow cutting through the mist, only now they were chasing me. I floored the gas. The car fishtailed, straightened, tore down the road, but the lights stayed with me, closer, closer, until they filled the mirror again, so bright it felt like they were burning into my eyes. I couldn't tell if they were behind me or inside the fog itself, like the fog was driving them. Then, silence. The lights blinked out. The sound died. The world went still again. I drove until I saw the first glow of dawn, until the fog thinned and the road looked like a road again. But I never saw another car, not that night, not ever since. And sometimes, when the mist rolls in thick and white over that same stretch of highway,
I catch a glimmer in the mirror, just a faint pair of lights waiting, and I swear they're getting closer each time.
The next story is Eyes in the Darkness. It was one of those nights when the world feels half asleep. The highway stretched endlessly ahead, dark, empty, and humming with the sound of my tires on cracked asphalt. My gas light had been glowing for miles. When I finally saw a flicker of light up ahead, a lonely gas station in the middle of nowhere, I felt an instant wave of relief. The place looked ancient, paint peeling off the walls, one of the fluorescent signs buzzing like a trapped fly. But the lights were on. That was enough. I pulled in. No other cars, just the sound of a weak radio coming from inside the shop. The cashier, an old man with heavy eyelids, barely looked up as I paid. His voice was slow and hoarse when he said, "Safe travels." I nodded, not really thinking much of it, and headed back to my car. The night air was cold and damp, and the fog was starting to roll in. I got back on the highway, the station's light fading in my rearview mirror until it vanished completely. For a while, everything was fine, just the road and the sound of my engine. But then, a faint noise broke through the silence. Tap, tap, tap. At first, I thought it was something rattling in the trunk, maybe a loose tool or a can rolling around. But then the tapping grew louder, more deliberate, like knuckles. My grip on the wheel tightened. The noise didn't stop. It changed, scratching now. Slow, dragging scratches, like fingernails across metal. My mouth went dry. I turned down the radio, hoping I was just imagining things, but the sound was still there, persistent, closer. I pulled over to the shoulder. The road was dead silent. No cars, no lights, just the hum of insects somewhere in the dark. I sat there for a moment, staring at the rearview mirror. The trunk was still, but the noise hadn't stopped. Something was moving. I reached for my flashlight, my hand trembling. The night air felt heavier as I stepped out. Each footstep on the gravel echoed louder than it should have. I walked to the back of the car, heart pounding so hard it drowned out everything else. The scratching went silent just as I touched the handle.
I swallowed hard and lifted the trunk. At first, I saw nothing, just darkness, empty bags, a spare tire. Then, eyes. Two pale eyes staring back at me from the corner of the trunk, wide, unblinking. I stumbled back, the flashlight beam jerking across the metal. A man sat up slowly inside, his skin ghost pale, his clothes torn and filthy. His lips twisted into a dry, unnatural smile. "Hey there," he rasped. His voice was a whisper dragged through gravel. I couldn't move, couldn't think. He shouldn't have been there. No one could fit in that space. Then it hit me. The gas station. He must have climbed in while I was paying. Before I could react, he climbed out, his movements quick and animal-like. He lunged forward, his hand grabbing my wrist with surprising strength. "Thanks for the ride," he breathed, his face inches from mine. His breath was hot, sour,
and wrong, like rot. I yanked free, stumbling back toward the driver's door. He followed, smiling wider now, his teeth catching the light. I slammed the door shut just as his hands hit the window. The glass shuddered under his fists as he pounded, screaming wordless sounds that didn't even sound human. I started the car and floored it. The tires screamed against the pavement as I sped away. In the mirror, I could still see him, standing on the shoulder, lit by my taillights, his head tilted in an odd angle. He didn't chase me. He just watched. I drove for miles before I could breathe again. Every sound made me jump. Every bump on the road felt like something hitting the trunk. When I finally pulled into my driveway, the sky was just starting to lighten. I checked the trunk again. Empty. But ever since that night, I can't drive past a gas station without checking my mirrors. Because sometimes, when the light hits just right, I swear I see a shadow move, and I remember his voice whispering from the dark, "Thanks for the ride."
The next story is The Looping Road. I was completely drained, another exhausting shift behind me, and all I wanted was to get home, eat something warm, and collapse into bed. The city lights faded in my rearview mirror as I headed out, chasing the comfort of silence. The route home usually took about 40 minutes, routine, predictable. But that night, the thought of sitting through highway traffic made my skin crawl. So when I saw a narrow side road cutting off into the woods, I figured I'd take a chance, a shortcut, something quieter. At first, it seemed perfect. The road was narrow but smooth, flanked by trees that swayed lazily in the wind. My headlights washed over the dark forest, and for a while it was almost peaceful, the kind of quiet that wraps around you like a blanket. No cars, no noise, just me and the hum of the engine. But after 20 minutes, that peace started to feel different, heavier. The trees pressed closer, their branches knitting together overhead like black veins across the sky. I didn't recognize any landmarks, and the air outside looked thick, almost smoky in my headlights. Still, I kept driving. It had to connect somewhere, I told myself. Half an hour later, my GPS started to glitch. The blue dot jittered across the map, lost and confused. Then the signal vanished entirely. The radio was no better, just static hissing softly, broken only by the occasional crackle that almost sounded like a voice trying to push through. A cold unease crawled through me. No GPS, no signal, no lights behind or ahead, just the endless stretch of road swallowed by forest. Time slipped strangely. I couldn't tell if I'd been driving for 1 hour or 3. The road never curved, never split, never changed. The same blacktop, the same suffocating wall of trees. It felt like the world beyond my headlights simply didn't exist anymore. That's when I noticed the dead tree. It stood to the right of the road, crooked, skeletal branches reaching out like desperate hands. A few minutes later, I passed a rusted road sign, the paint peeled away long ago. Another mile, and the same dead tree again. The same broken sign. My grip tightened on the wheel as a sick realization set in. I wasn't moving forward at all. I was looping. Somehow, impossibly, looping. I slowed to a crawl, eyes scanning the roadside for a turn I might have missed.
Nothing, just that same stretch, repeating like a nightmare that refused to end. I tried calling for help, but my phone was useless. No signal, not even an emergency line. I shouted into the darkness once, desperate and angry, but my voice was swallowed whole, like the forest didn't want to let the sound escape. An hour later, maybe more, I spotted something. Headlights in the distance. My chest tightened with relief. Another driver. I honked, flashed the brights, leaned forward in my seat as the lights drew closer, then blinked out. Gone. The road ahead was empty again, darker than ever. Panic started to settle in, heavy and cold. I pulled over, leaving the engine running, my breath fogging the windshield. The stillness outside was unbearable. I told myself I'd wait for daylight. Things always look different in daylight. But then came the sound, a faint crunching, like footsteps on gravel, coming from the tree line. I froze. The sound grew louder, closer, circling the car. My eyes darted to the mirrors, but there was only darkness. Then something brushed against the rear bumper. Soft, deliberate. That was enough. I slammed the car into drive and sped forward, the tire screaming against the pavement. My pulse pounded in my throat as the same scenery whipped by again. The dead tree, the sign, the road curving into infinity. I was trapped, and something out there knew it. I don't remember how long I drove after that. The edges of my vision blurred, exhaustion blurring into panic, until I must have blacked out behind the wheel. When I came to, sunlight was streaming through the windshield, birds were chirping, the world looked ordinary again. The GPS reconnected, and I was barely 5 miles from home. The road behind me was just another quiet country lane. But now, whenever I drive at night, I can't help but wonder if it's still out there, that endless road, waiting for the moment I take the wrong turn again. And if I do, maybe I won't make it back this time. And the last story is The Passenger Who Knows. It was close to 2 in the morning, and the city had already gone to sleep. The streets were empty. The kind of empty that makes every stoplight feel louder than it should. I'd been driving all night, half on autopilot, half fighting the weight behind my eyelids. The app had gone quiet hours ago. No pings, no rides, just me, the hum of the engine, and the soft voice of a podcast I wasn't really listening to. I was about to call it a night when my phone buzzed. One last request. The pickup point was on the outskirts of town, a dead stretch of road I didn't usually take. The destination? Even farther out, deep in the countryside. I hesitated. Those back roads could be pitch black at night, winding through fields and forests where no one lived anymore. But the fare was good, and I figured one last trip before heading home couldn't hurt. When I pulled up, I almost thought the app had glitched. There were no lights, no houses, not even the sound of crickets, just the dim glow of my headlights cutting through the fog. And then I saw him. He stepped out from behind a telephone pole, tall, thin, wearing a long coat that looked 2 sizes too big. He moved slowly, like he wasn't in a hurry to get anywhere. Without a word, he opened the back door and sat down. I turned slightly and asked, "You headed to Meadow Creek Road?" He nodded once, didn't smile, didn't speak. Something about him immediately set me on edge. Maybe it was the silence, or the smell, like old wood and rain-soaked earth. I told myself not to overthink it. I'd had plenty of weird fares before. So I started driving. For the first 10 minutes, the only sound was the hum of the tires on asphalt. Then his voice came out of nowhere. Low, calm, almost too calm. "Do you like driving strangers around at night?" The question caught me off guard. I gave a short laugh, trying to ease the tension. "Pays the bills," I said. He leaned forward slightly, his reflection faint in the rearview mirror. "You must meet interesting people." "Sometimes," I said, eyes on the road. But his tone, there was something behind it. Not curiosity, not small talk, something else. Another few minutes passed. I thought he'd fallen asleep until he spoke again. "You've driven this road before." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "This one, the back road that cuts through the woods. You used to take it every weekend." My stomach tightened. He couldn't have known that. Years ago, before I took this job, I had driven this same stretch every Friday. But I'd never told anyone that. "Must be a coincidence," I muttered. He smiled, just barely. "No, you were younger then, happier, before everything changed." I glanced up in the mirror, but his face was shadowed. Only his eyes caught the light, pale and steady, watching me. A cold sweat crept down my neck.
"How do you know me?" I asked, voice shaky. "People remember those they've hurt," he whispered. I gripped the wheel tighter. "What are you talking about?" He leaned closer, his reflection filling the rear view. "What was her name?" The words hit me like a punch. I didn't answer. I couldn't. "You left her here, on this very road." My breath caught. I hadn't thought about her in years. The friend I'd lost, the mistake I'd buried under time and guilt. No one knew. No one could have. "Who the hell are you?" I snapped, heart pounding. He sat back, smiling faintly. "Just a passenger." The rest of the drive was torture. Every curve in the road felt unfamiliar. Every tree seemed to lean closer. And that smell, damp earth, and something faintly metallic, lingered stronger now. When the GPS announced the destination, I realized where we were. An old farmhouse at the end of a dirt road. Windows boarded, roof sagging, abandoned for years. I stopped the car. He opened the door and stepped out. Before leaving, he leaned down, meeting my eyes through the open window. "It's never too late to make things right," he said softly. Then he turned and walked into the darkness. I didn't wait to see where he went. I floored it, speeding down that dirt road until the house and the man were long gone behind me. But as I checked the mirror, I saw him one last time, standing in the middle of the road, framed by the red glow of my taillights, watching. When I blinked, he was gone. I didn't take another fare that night, didn't even finish the shift. But sometimes, when I'm driving alone late at night, I catch a glimpse of a figure in the mirror, sitting in the back seat, silent, waiting. And every time I wonder, was he ever really gone?
Thank you for listening till the end. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to hear more interesting stories.